The Zion 1 reminds me of one of those mirrored fun houses where you don't know if what you're looking at is real or just a reflection. Nothing is oriented correctly, so you're always second guessing your next step. But you're still having fun. That is until you can't get out. Hey, what's up? Zach here. And the Jordan Zion 1 was by far the weirdest, most surprising, but definitely most fun shoe that I have reviewed this year. Let me show you. And one of the biggest surprises of the Zion 1 came in the uppers, and when you look at them from the top-down view, you would think they are really wide and bulky uppers that would fit a really wide foot. However, all of that width is in the mid and outsole. The uppers are actually pretty constricting, and also if you look down here, down the lace line, you actually have two slips going into the strobel board, which go right over the ball of your foot, so they really cinch the front part of your foot down. Now, if you go up the uppers, when you look at them, they actually look pretty substantial, like a big man shoe. However, when you actually look at the tongue, it is broken apart just into a few areas of bunting. So I did notice with these, sometimes they were a little bit hard to tie down, and just other times it was just kind of hard to get that dialed in to kind of where it was feeling snug, but not necessarily constricting. But on the flip side of that, that was also one of the other surprises of the shoe. For the shoe being pretty bulky in appearance, it's not all that heat trapping. You know, the mesh up here does exchange heat pretty decently. When I tried these, it was a pretty hot day, and I really had no issues with sweating or heat buildup. However, they also have pretty decent DuraGuards here in the forefoot. If you look at the upper durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds, highest grit sandpaper, that Dremel did not bite through that DuraGuard whatsoever. So even though these uppers are made of mostly mesh and honestly just some thin textile materials where you would actually need the durability guard for more of a gritty outdoor court, it is beefed up just enough in that area where you're, number one, not going to get stepped on and kind of get a bloody toenail, or number two, drag the shoe into oblivion. Now, getting into the midsole teardown, this is where I really kind of prematurely judged the shoe. When I first put it on, it was so cushioned and so kind of plush underneath my foot, and I thought to myself, this is why Zion Williamson can't rehab this broken foot and get back into like NBA playing, because the shoe is too soft. It's not giving him enough rigid support. However, once I started playing in them, I thought to myself, man, these are actually giving me some snapback. I'm actually feeling some more rigidity under my foot and a little more performance. I mean, if you just look at the jump height test, 37 centimeters on that, which is just as good as most other cantilever jump focus shoes. However, I couldn't figure out where all that rigidity and that stiffness was coming from, but when you cut the shoe open, it's got that really neat air strobel unit going all the way from heel to toe. But then right under that is a very rigid shank. The reason you don't feel that is because there's an entire bed of air under your foot. Now, you also have that 2x4 air zoom unit in the forefoot, which gives even more of a plush ride. So that coupled with Phylon, which is, you know, not the most plush foam underneath their foot, but it's not bad. This is a very plush feeling shoe, a very soft feeling shoe underfoot. However, it still does give some decent performance. But the part of the shoe that I kind of went back and forth on the most was the outsole. As you can see, it is this regenerative wave pattern here in the forefoot. However, in the rear foot, it basically is just a linear tread pattern. Now, what I noticed was the wave pattern in this, the tread depth is pretty low. So if you're going to play on a dusty court, these are going to pick up dust pretty easily, and that will lead to some sliding. You know, the one thing I noticed about the Zion 1, no matter what surface you're playing on them, the rubber does need some warming time if you want to get traction. I noticed on hardwood or asphalt, painted courts, whatever, the first 15 minutes of these shoes, they do give a little bit. Now, some people like that give. They don't like that really hard tack outsole rubber. However, if you are looking for a really tacky shoe or just something that you can really kind of make more ankle breaker moves or try to beat out an opponent with footwork, you better warm these shoes up for 15-20 minutes, let that rubber get up to temperature, and then they'll start gripping. But the interesting thing about that rubber warming is once they do warm up, especially on a well-maintained indoor hardwood or even just a nice outdoor court, these really start giving a nice traction profile. They're not too gripping to where your body's gonna fall over your foot, but they don't slide either. And what I really like is the flange on the outside, that part that I thought was gonna make the shoe so wide, it's soft. It's just made of all Phylon, and you would think that's not gonna give a lot of stability. However, with the traction pattern and grip profile of the shoe, when you go to corner, that phylon compresses a little bit, and therefore the front part of your foot, or your forefoot, kind of digs into the shoe a little bit, and it gives you a little bit more of a low to the ground, more tactile feel, especially on corners. Now, if you just look at the Shuttle test, 14.74 seconds in a shoe that's by no means a speed-focused, real streamlined shoe. This is a little bit more of a clunker, and I was still setting decent times just because I was able to take corners so aggressively and have no issues or no thoughts of rolling or any instability. Just goes to show you, if a shoe can give you enough confidence, you can kind of do the rest. And that sounds all well and good, and honestly it is. However, if you look at the Outsole durability test, the Dremel 10 seconds highest grit sandpaper, I mean, about a millimeter, a little over a millimeter of damage on only a 2 millimeter tread depth, and the durometer of this is only in that middle grade. So for only a 2 millimeter tread depth, if you're using these outdoors on a really gritty asphalt or concrete court, they're going to start to wear down. Now, if you are playing with these on a pretty well-maintained indoor court, you're just not very dusty, these are probably going to give you some pretty decent traction for a long time. So you just kind of have to dial in what kind of court you're playing on, and if you're willing to sacrifice a little bit of that outsole tread wear for a little bit of a more enhanced and kind of customized grip experience. And getting into the fit of the Zion 1, I mean, we kind of alluded to this, but honestly, these are not meant for wide footers. Where the laces come down, if you have a bunion or Taylor's bunion, these things are going to cinch down on you pretty good. So I would say if you are a 2E, definitely go up that half size. I wouldn't go up full sizes on these because they are a little bit bulky. They're pretty clunky here in the forefoot. However, if you're looking for a shoe for stability, if you are a chronic ankle sprainer, not so much because of the height of the ankle collar, but just the engineering of the midsole, these are going to be really good for anybody with midfoot or ankle instability. But I think the most fun part of the Zion 1s had to just be their raw playability. When I first put these on, I felt these are not a big man shoe. This is not meant for a big foot or a large person. However, the more I played in them, the more I realized, yeah, they are. They actually give good spring back. They give a little bit of pop underneath of you, but I think the biggest thing is they are just so darn stable on so many different surfaces and in so many different situations. If you're in the paint trying to rebound, they're really nice and stable. Plus, they give you a decent amount of security, especially with how the laces go into the strobo board plus the super wide flange. I also found, just trying to kind of get out of my own way in these shoes, yeah, they're not the most nimble out there. They're not the Anta KT7, they're not the PG6, they're not the Curry Flow 9. However, for a shoe meant for a bigger player, they're actually pretty decent. They're right there with the Kawhi line and New Balance in kind of that little bit of a bigger shoe, a little bit more maximalist, however, can give you just a little bit more nimble movement. Now, because that flange is so wide, you're gonna get a lot of stability, especially going side to side. However, like I said, if you're really trying to outwork somebody with footwork, or you just pride yourself in really quick, fast moving feet and you like a lighter shoe, yeah, this isn't for you. However, if you are a bigger player, looking for a shoe for some stability that you can kind of just have confidence in to let your own footwork kind of take over, then yeah, especially at some of the price points or the more basic colorways, the Zion 1 is a good pickup. And I know there's been a lot of early images of the Zion 2. There's even been some videos of him playing in them, kind of on that squishy court with them. So I would love to hear your thoughts. Are you still looking to get the Zion 1, or are you just waiting for the 2s to come out? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the midsole characteristics and playability characteristics of the Zion 1, but want something a little more forgiving forefoot, a little bit of a wider profile, make sure you check out my review and teardown of the Adidas Daymate Above, and subscribe down below. Respect your rubber and foam. I'll see you in the next video.